What's up, everybody? It's your man Danelle, aka Small Guy Promotions, aka the Omaha Fatty, coming with another podcast episode of What's Up Omaha. And again, I'm so glad to be back. And we're on a little bit of a hiatus, but now we're back, ready, with a whole bunch of new content, a whole bunch of new guests. Like my buddy Matt here today from Absolute Sports Nutrition. What's up, Matt?
What's going on, man?
How you doing, sir?
Very, very good. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, thank you for being on. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the very popular Absolute Sports Nutrition located in Bellevue, Nebraska, on Cornhusker Road, 25th and Cornhusker, just to make it easy for you guys, over by, the subway and the coffee shop over there, the scooters. But Matt and I have known each other for some years now. We met through jujitsu, training at 10th Planet Omaha, and I'd say over the years we've just become friends. And Matt is the guy that's helping me, get back in shape. So I wanted to have him on to talk a little bit about his store and his nutrition shop, and maybe just go over some things that people may want to know if they've never been to a nutrition shop and they're looking for tips or some advice on how to navigate through the ever-changing world and ever-evolving world of nutrition. It's kind of always the same, but there's always new things that are popping up.
Yeah. So nutrition's kind of weird. It's complicated at first because there seems to be so much stuff. Then it's easy because most of it's not really that complicated once you get the basics. But then at some point you make it hard again if you want the details. So it's it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, you've been in the game a really long time too, so you've been around to know, and not just like you are just trying to sell, a snake oil to people, but you're actually involved. You stay very active, and you have a heart for helping people learn and sharing the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, well, fly-by business is different than a career, and I've been doing this primarily for my career for 26 years. If I was out there selling crap and lying to people, I certainly wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. How did you get into the world of nutrition? Was it just something that like you were someone who was into like your own fitness, and then you started to learn up on it, or like how did that go?
Well, kind of to a degree. I was always an athlete, but in college, I was a college wrestler, and I tore my shoulder apart, uh, and it was pretty extensive. And the doc at the time told me I probably wouldn't be able to do the intense sports that I liked anymore. And I don't know if you remember being 19. I wasn't about that,
Yeah,
so I
doctors.
wanted to prove him wrong real bad. So I spent how to fix things myself, how supplements could help fix the body, how exercise could do it. I got my first job at a small uh, supplement store called Vitamin World, which we used to be around in the 90s. And just it allowed me to work in that industry and learn more and train. And eventually I fixed most of the problems that were there and I got even better. And at that point, it was more of an obsession than it was just a job. And you do that for a decade, you do it for 2 decades, and shoot, you might as well be really, really good at it.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever I have a question, I know it's nice to have Matt as a friend and someone who I trust. And I just said this the other day, like I really do trust him with the advice that he gives. And he'll be straightforward with you, me being the Omaha fatty. I've been upfront about how, yeah, I'm gonna have a cheat meal. Like it's just gonna happen. He doesn't make me feel bad about that. And he also, says some things that will help me along the way in planning for that. If I'm going to have a bad meal, then I better make sure the rest of my meals are in line with what I'm trying to get accomplished. And Matt is that constant reminder. I have check-ins with him every week to go over that information. So,
Well, yeah, like I tell a lot of my clients, when I initially speak about nutrition, I speak from a place of idealism, right? So if everything was perfect, we would like it to be here. But there's some reality that we have to put into here every once in a while, and we can map our way around some reality. Calories are calories, carbs are carbs, protein is protein. If we can use some math, we can make the fact that we're not ideal not so bad. but there are limits. So at some point we have to pay attention. But going from ideal to not ideal, but mindful, we can do that and we can still get a lot of results.
And the great thing about that is when people actually come in, it's not like you're just online and people are only buying supplements from you. They can actually come in and speak with you and get some of those questions answered if they have them. Or maybe they know that they, like a certain product and they've been using it, but they haven't been seeing the same results that they used to. That would be an opportunity to come in and speak to you and see what you have as an alternative. Um, and
You'd be surprised, you'd be surprised how many people bring in supplements that aren't even necessarily mine. And I don't like it when people waste stuff. There's only a few things out there that I think are actual garbage. Everything has some kind of purpose, but sometimes the person who sold it to you didn't know. Sometimes you have a misunderstanding. Sometimes you're not using it appropriately. And there's plenty of times where somebody comes in for something. I'll just teach them how to use what they have and then add something better along with it for next time.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the stuff that I'm talking about because it can be kind of intimidating, I would think. It can be, when you have experience with some of the chain locations, it seems
Mm.
to be like a sales pitch, kind of like a car sales deal. But coming to a standalone store like yours and knowing that you have a vested interest in your client or your customer being successful, I think that plays a big part into how you interact with people and how things go. So
Sure.
I think that's reassuring to know
Sure.
that.
And oddly enough, I think age has something to do with that. The older I get,
Yeah.
the more I'm into answering all the questions before somebody knows they even have a question sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'll knock out things that I know are probably going to be questions or issues for them in the first couple of weeks, so that their first month or two can be as smooth as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me personally, right now, I go to Matt and I see him usually once a week because we're doing the Get Back in Shape contest that he has at his shop. And Matt, I'll let you just talk about I can't say it better than you can. I'll let you give the details about the contest, and I would like you to go over that, but also how it works just for a regular client who's coming to you outside of the contest.
Sure. Well, Absolute Sports Nutrition is a supplement store. So we carry supplements, but we're also nutritionists. So meal planning is a big part of what we do. We help people with the math, with the plans to accomplish their goals, whether it's weight loss, fat loss, muscle gain, getting better for a sport, bodybuilding, any of those kinds of things. And we offer that year round. We usually set up so that people have 3 months to use our program, easy to use software, weekly follow ups, body composition tests, lots of information to know what's right and what things could potentially be done a little bit better, and lots of accountability built into that. So we offer that all the time. But once a year in March, we open it up to be a little bit less expensive and have a contest. People who join up in March get to join up for less money. They get a lot of added benefits to it. And then there's a point system between losing fat and showing up for your stuff and little accomplishments that you can do through it. You can accumulate points. And at the end of our contest, which is going to be here at the end of June, the person with the most points can win $1,000. So, along with being obviously in better shape and hopefully a lot healthier and happier.
Yeah, and I love it. For me personally, I've said it many times before. I have a few goals that are intertwined within this contest, and one being, you know, being able to support a friend and try to get the name out there because Omaha Fatty and Small Guy Promotions. I mean that he's who I'm here for. I love to support the local people, the people in my community, the people that I know, and why wouldn't I want to support someone, a friend, who is trying to be successful at a business that they're doing, as long as I believe in the business as well, right? Uh, I train jujitsu 3 to 4 times a week, and being heavier as I am sometimes when I'm living the role of Omaha Fatty, it can get kind of tough, and my gas tank isn't there. My stamina is not at full capacity, and I'm just slower and I'm breathing heavy. So Matt helps me, focus a little bit and at least it's one thing for me to just have the eye on a prize for myself, as far as target weight or whatever, but going to Matt and getting on the in body scale, that's one of the things that I really like because I can get on the scale at home any day, anytime that I want to, but it's not going to paint a full picture of what I'm up against. So going in to see Matt once a week and getting on that scale and seeing how much of a percentage of fat I have, how much percentage of water, how much percentage of lean mass, all those things, and getting the expertise that Matt has, that is a big reason why I'm pushing the contest because I want people to know it's more than a contest. You can go and see Matt anytime. Um, and then also, of course, I get healthy, so that goal that I have to be in better shape, this is helping that along. And like I said, it just gives me more focus on the goal, on the target that I have. Um, and then just yeah, it's always good to learn stuff. And I feel like I can. Someone just told me yesterday, I think that, or maybe it was Saturday, 2 days ago, I was an inspiration, and that's part of what I want to show when I'm doing my journey. Is yes, we all go through different periods of life where maybe we're not as focused on things as we should on our health. Life gets busy. We can't find the time for working out or eating properly. That's a big thing that Matt talks about, though. If you meal prep, it may cost you some time at the beginning, but it's saving you time in the long run because you have those meals for your week already planned. If you watch Matt's social media, his Instagram, his Facebook, I take a lot of tips from that. I'm eating the Greek yogurt that he did a video for a few weeks back. I eat the chicken that he mentioned, and I love that chicken. And then, he had a big baggie of rice in one of the videos that he had. So I really not only just do it on I don't feel like I'm alone, and sometimes you can feel like you're alone when you're on a journey, but having someone like Matt to be able to talk to, I want other people to understand that he's there as a resource and as an asset, and he's there to help. So, Matt, I appreciate every time I walk in, I'm doing a video or something, and I say I appreciate Matt and Jeff because I think maybe sometimes we don't understand that we have those close resources right under our nose. So, you know,
Yeah.
thank you, Matt.
No, accountability is huge, and having somebody to answer questions is huge. But having somebody to sometimes challenge you a little bit can also be a big deal. Because a lot of people will come into me and say I've tried this before. I've been doing this. I've been working harder. I've been eating better. That I hear that a lot. I've been eating better, and I'm a big fan of the word better. I'm a big fan of the word better.
Yep.
But sometimes people don't understand what better really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're changing one thing that's high calorie for another thing that's high calorie because someone said the other high calorie thing was healthy.
Yep.
And that might be okay, but that might be a different goal than weight loss. Or somebody might give themselves a ton of credit for saying no to something. And that's great. We got to say no to stuff. But if you're eating 5,000 calories a day, you're going to gain weight.
Yep.
And if you're eating 5,000 calories a day, but today you said no to a 300 calorie donut, that's awesome. But if you still ate 4,700 calories today, you're not going to lose weight. And a lot of times people will put so much credit. They'll try to give themselves so much credit for saying no to that 300 calories that
Yeah.
they'll forget they ate 4,700 calories. And then all this frustration builds up and all this disdain and this feeling like dieting won't work for me. I've tried it. I've said no to these things. I've eaten better and I didn't get results.
Yeah.
Pointing out some of that, doing math and showing people what the real math is versus just what they instinctually feel is better or they instinctually feel is some discipline that they're putting in. That can be a little uncomfortable on week 1 or 2, but it's oh so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you're upfront with people about that type of stuff. And, you ask the questions, like you dig a little deeper, like what is better? What does that mean? Like you said,
Yeah.
you might say no to that donut, but what are the other things that you said yes to? Um,
Yeah. And
for
it's
for
important you don't
me,
beat anybody up.
yeah,
Sometimes people are legitimately trying and they just don't know. And having somebody look down their nose on them, like, I can't believe you didn't know this, that's
yeah,
not helpful. Everybody's
right.
in a different spot, but that doesn't mean they don't need to be educated. You just, I mean, do it in a way that makes sense versus make somebody feel like you think they're an idiot. They're
Yeah.
because sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you weren't taught. Sometimes,
Yep. Well, after you left on Saturday, Jeff and I were talking, and he said, so if you guys don't know, Jeff is Matt's business employee, um, partner, I don't know. But he is a guy, of course, who is also into fitness. Uh, and he told me that he doesn't really like most vegetables. He said growing up that he didn't have that as an option in the house mostly. It was like ramen and hamburger helper or whatever it was, and vegetables just weren't a thing in his household. Uh, so that's a big part of him. We were talking about gardening and being able to eat off of stuff that you grow in your backyard. And he's like, you know, I would try something because his girl is into gardening. So he's like, I'd probably try something more,
Mm.
but he's like, I just don't really like vegetables. So, there's things that we don't take
Just got
into
some odd
account.
food things.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing. It's a good thing Jeff can do math because he's got some things about food that he's a little.
That's funny.
he,
Yeah.
he's
And
not
I didn't
into.
know that either. So that was funny to learn. So I'm like, dude, I love vegetables. I eat so many different varieties of vegetables. Like I don't, yeah. Um, but also what you said too was maybe someone told a person about something that they thought would be a better option for them, and they just take it as that and don't do any research or whatever it is. That's why, again,
Yeah.
coming into you and speaking to you about what their goals are, because maybe that person, it did work and they didn't necessarily tell them anything wrong, but they didn't find out enough about what that person's goal was, or they didn't find out about the detail of what they're putting into their bodies or how much they're exercising or whatever it is, because it's not just one thing that solves the problem.
Well, sometimes it's just an extrapolation of an idea that's been handed down for generations too. Like one of the
Yeah.
big ones is if I'm going to go out to eat, I'm going to eat a salad because that's going to be better for me than if I have a burger or if I have this pork chop, something like that. But a lot of these places you go, the salads can be 12, 13, 1400 calories.
Yep.
They can be just chock full of crap, and the dressings can be almost 1,000 calories and all this stuff that's put into it. But for somebody who's just, they've heard this and they've been told this their whole life, and they don't have a job that revolves around having to know nutrition. I think obviously the salad is a better choice, but the burger might have more protein and it might be 400 calories less than the salad. So if their goal is weight loss, the burger might have actually been a better idea. It might have been a better choice, but they would never think of a hamburger as healthier than a salad,
Right.
right? So stuff like that can get really, really confusing too, because that can be a whole lifetime of obviously salads are better for you than burgers. Yeah,
Yep.
how do you break out of that unless somebody breaks it down for you?
Yep. And we had a similar conversation like that yesterday when we were talking about one of our young wrestlers who, when we were going over her meal intake, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, that doesn't sound healthy. Like, why are you doing that?" I'm like, "We need to talk. We need to get you in to see Matt because, like, yeah, please come with me to see Matt. Like I go weekly, stop in with me so we can like get a plan going because what you're doing now does not sound good and it's not healthy and I want to make sure that you're in the right spot to be successful. So, again, another reason that I'm thankful for Matt. Like I talked to Matt about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I bring her in." So that's what I'm going to try to do. And again, he's a great resource and asset, and I appreciate him. Matt, if what is one thing that you would tell someone who was maybe thinking about starting the journey of, I mean, and of course, getting back into shape can mean different things for different people, but what is one thing that you think is like would be helpful to someone who didn't know where to start?
So for most people, the couple of top things that they need to think about is protein is king. So if most of the time people eat, they snack, they have meals, they have all kinds of stuff throughout the day, they graze on things, and very few of those things actually have protein in them. This is a huge blanket statement. So this is not a detailed statement. There are exceptions to all of this, but in general, protein is much more filling than most other foods. Protein also feeds our muscle. It doesn't feed our fat. And it just simply has a much larger health impact on us over time. It controls our blood sugar, all kinds of huge benefits to it. But if we're going to eat things like carbs and fatty snacks and crunchy things and eating out of a bag and having toast for breakfast or cereal and things like that, we're constantly punching in these high calorie things that don't satisfy us for very long, that also don't feed our muscle. So it tends to snowball into I'm hungry quicker, I'm hungry more often, I'm feeding my fat instead of feeding my muscle. And if we could just make sure that every time we ate, there's some protein involved, the body will naturally crave less of this. That alone, man, if you're going to put something in your mouth, make sure protein is involved with it. That would be such a huge benefit for almost everybody. And then number two, get some measuring tools. So whether it's measuring cups, measuring spoon, a food scale, I know it seems annoying. I know it seems silly for people who haven't done it before. But if you look at the back of something like peanut butter, it'll tell you how many calories or how much fat is in a tablespoon or two tablespoons, depending on the peanut butter. When you stick your metal spoon in there and pull it out, that is not one or two tablespoons. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. And the fat calories can skyrocket. If you stick a spoonful in there and you just round it out like a lot of us do, you might have close to half a cup of peanut butter on that thing. And now instead of 8 or 9 grams of fat, you might have 70. That's the kind of difference that happens when we simply don't measure. So getting some measuring tools, and even if you're not ready to do it all the time, just every once in a while to let yourself know just how far off of reality sometimes that just sticking a spoon in something is. It'll give you a little bit of a reference point that you can check every once in a while, and maybe that'll stick and keep you from getting as bad. Those two things I think would be great starts.
Good, good. Well, I know you have things to do, but as I ask everyone before we go, where can people find you at physically, like street location? I know I already kind of said it, but there, and also where can they find you on socials?
Yeah, so we have a physical brick and mortar store in Bellevue on 23rd and Cornhusker in the same parking lot that Deets Music is in, Scooters and Subway. You can find us you can give us a call, 402-932-2629. We're on all the social medias, not on TikTok. I don't know why. I just haven't done that one yet. But Facebook and Instagram, we're on those guys. And there's a website. You can even buy our stuff on there at absolutesportsnutrition.co. It's not a .com. It's a .co. Somebody bought that .com and tried to sell it to me for 3 grand, and I just couldn't do it. So it's a CO.
All right, cool. Well, Matt, as always, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me a little bit of your time, and I hope that we introduce some new people to Absolute Sports Nutrition, and maybe just even if they send you a question, I hope someone seeks out your knowledge. So, thank you, man. I
That'd be great.
appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All
All
right,
right, we'll
man.
see you
Have a
in the
good
store.
time
We're
at the
on now.
dojo. Yeah, yeah, I'll be
Later.
there.
Thanks, man.
All right,
Later.
man. Have a good one.